Dave Maupin, James Michael Paisley, Bill Mulder. Tomorrow's Wednesday, so we kick off with the Damn Schwag at 9, the Gabby Hayes Show at 11, a Really Big Shoe at 2, International Flavor at 4, and the Ike Skelton Radio Show featuring Matt Burns at 6 o'clock. Thanks to everybody who played along today. Love you. Back tomorrow to do it again. It's time now for International Flavor with Sam Trapp on Damn Radio.
Hello, good evening, and welcome. You are on Damn Radio. This is Samuel Trapp, and you are listening to International Flavor. I'm very glad you're here tonight. I'm trying something brand new, and it's I just realized I had the microphone on through the last song. I'm very sorry about that. I didn't mean to trouble anyone with my testing of the microphone to make sure that it was working and everything was appropriate and in the right places. So anyway, that's my daily dose of Sam is technically challenged, but we're going to get ready and do our show tonight. We're going to try something new. You can join me in two ways tonight. So I am doing a video version of this program even as we speak. And the goal is to switch times from 4 p.m. Missouri to 9 p.m. Missouri. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that everybody knows it, so I might actually run both. I'm actually live right now. If you would like to call in, please feel free to do so. I'm going to experiment and make sure that the communications are going the other direction as well and end up on my video feed just as well. I'm not positive of the quality that will come back when I try to do this two ways. I've discovered how I'm going to take care of this small problem, and I think I know how to do it. And I'm going to we'll have this figured out. It's going to be just fine. And so the show is going to be switching, as I've told you before. You can go log on to internationalflavor.com, and you can go to my podcast, and all these are saved in there in all of their glory, and you get to hear all the technical challenges and the things that I've gone through in setting this program up. But if I would really like it, because I have a Russian following. I do a Russian program, and that program is called International Flavor. It's in Russian. Международный вкус is the name of that program, and I speak on that program in Russian, and I invite people to join me on the screen. And so far, that has happened only 4 or 5 times. Most of the time, it's me talking, but you can make live commentary on the channel. So if you log in online onto what is it called? You go to YouTube. You go to YouTube and you log in. And on YouTube, you log in. Well, if you have an account, and you don't have to have an account, or you don't have to do anything. And you can enter in my channel, which is called International Flavor English. And if you want to get to the channel, you just type that in at International Flavor, a $, and the word English, and it gets to my channel. And then you can see that I have a live program going on, and all of my programs are also there. Now, I don't have any followers on this channel because I started it brand new. And I haven't really I've been trying to make sure that I have my little studio set up the correct way. And I think that I finally do. But if you go to that, you can log in and you can make comments right on the screen, which I will see and I will read. But at the bottom of the screen, there is a link. And if you type in that link, you can join me on the program by video feed. And so you will be joined in to the program by video. And that could be rather entertaining if we figure it out the proper way to have that. But you know what? I'm not positive that that the voice, if you join in on the program there, that the voice will go the other way to the radio broadcast. I've figured out how to get the radio broadcast phone calls to the program, and so to make sure that they show up on my radio program. But I'm not positive I figured it out how to do it on the other side. So we're gonna have a lot of well, I'm sure we'll probably still have a few challenges here and there, and I've got to be able to. JR's got, or our studio anyway, which is JR Studio, has all these cool piece of equipment and slides, and you can go up and down. I don't have anything so dramatic, but we're here and we're going to make this work. And I want to switch anyway to a later evening program. So I will be the late night. Well, yeah, 9 o'clock's really late. But I would like people to come and do my late night show. So what I'm doing tonight is I am doing this show live. You may phone in and life is good. And then tomorrow, just like last night, I did the program live, both on a video stream and on an audio, Damn Radio. Here I am on International Flavor. And if I get some calls in, people got to get used to the fact that that we're switching times. Time's a little bit better for me. We're also switching slightly the days. And so I will now be broadcasting on from Sunday evening at 9 p.m. to 10:30, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. But I will not be broadcasting on Friday and on Saturday. And so that is the intent of the program. Everything will still be recorded. So if you're one of the many who listen to the podcast versions, that'll still be basically the same. Tomorrow, so today's program actually, because I recorded only the video last night. And so the video ended up being played at the 5 o'clock slot. I'm sorry, the 4 o'clock slot this afternoon. And so tomorrow, this video or this audio will be played tomorrow at the 4 o'clock slot as well, just so you understand how I intend for it all to work. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you still join in and come to the program, and that people will still phone in and be happy to speak to me about various and sundry things. I've been paying attention to the news and trying to find out what happens, and there's so much news going on. I listened to JR's show today. I got to listen to almost 90% of it, and I like his news that he was putting out. I love it, and he was pretty full today. Had a lot of good some good things. There's the news that we're getting from the other side of the planet, though, is that there's some smart ass articles, and you know how I love my smart ass articles that come in. There's one entitled, because this new German chancellor in waiting, is like Cinderella in the ballroom. Well, before she gets to the ballroom, waiting for her little slippers. This is Mr. Merz. He's doing this. There's a lady named Rachel Marsden who is a political commentator, and a pretty good one. And I am going to present. I like reading her items for presentation. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, because I still believe that the entire European, if you want to call them leadership, I'm kind of, I don't think that I'd have a hard time calling them leadership. Let's call it that. Leadership is certainly not what I say they are doing. I'm not sure they are leading. Could they? We always would say things like, you you couldn't lead your way out of a cardboard box. You guys could be you couldn't lead your way out of the basement. Things like that. When I was in the military, there are people that just were not meant to take a group of people and assign them tasks to get a big picture item done. And this Mertz is what I feel like from hand. But Rachel Marsden has an article she published. Germany wants the UK to hold its hand while it starts World War III, because that, from the news that we've been getting over the weekend and the news that came out earlier today, that is where we all are. I want to get into that a little bit. We have the Kremlin commenting on reports of the U.S.'s position shift on the Crimea. The dollar has nosedived to a 3-year low. A Kiev gay club mocked the Christian ceremony on Easter Sunday. That's a big deal, even in Kiev. There's a lot of religious people in Kiev. There's still a lot of people that follow the Russian Orthodox Church, and there's some other versions like Romanian Orthodox and a couple like that. But we still have gay I don't know, clubs making fun of Christians. Why don't we start with that? It does have a video, but I'm not going to play that video. I'm really not interested. A male entertainer with fake breasts sprinkled the congregation with holy water during one of his performances. A stage act at a gay club in Ukraine's capital of Kiev on Easter Sunday featured a mock Christian ritual, according to a video said to have been filmed at the event. It appears to be, yeah. Easter, which commemorates the resurrection of Jesus, being celebrated by both Orthodox and Western Christians this year on the same day, April 20. Now, that's pretty rare, I got to tell you. The clip, which was shared by Ukrainian television channels on Monday, captured performance on stage at the Portum Gay Club, making a mockery of Asperges, the rite of sprinkling the congregation with holy water. A drag queen with fake breasts is filmed sprinkling water on a large bowl of cheering partygoers, with Judas by U.S. pop star Lady Gaga playing in the background. Footage of the performance upset many Ukrainians, as I imagine it would, quickly gaining thousands of angry emoji reactions. One of the commentators branded the stage event sick theater, while another called upon God to take mercy upon the entertainers. On Good Friday, April 18th, an LGBTQ film festival, Sunny Bunny, opened in Kiev, also outraging many local Christians and some politicians. It is running during Easter week and is scheduled to conclude this Friday. Last weekend, police detained multiple people after protesters from right-wing pop group Prava Malod, means rights of the young, clashed with police outside the event at Zhovtin movie theater. Ukrainian MP Alexei Goncharenko branded the LGBTQ film festival a provocation against Ukrainian traditions, faith, and frontline soldiers who have died with a prayer on their lips. So the Ukrainians are not liking this. However, the organizers of the event defended it, arguing that Ukraine is a secular state where people of different faiths and beliefs live side by side. In a secular country, a variety of events, from theater to cinema, take place on any given holiday, and Sunny Bunny is just one of them. The LGBTQ movement's been trying to raise its profile in Ukraine amid the conflict with Russia, with activists framing it as a statement of defiance. These groups have also launched fundraisers to purchase drones for Kiev's armed forces and encourage supporters to contribute. Russia banned LGBT propaganda in 2022. Last year, designated the movement as a terrorist organization. I don't know what the right thing is on that, but I think you should have some common decency and not make fun of other religions. I just think it's wrong. I just don't think it should be done. So, if that happened in the U.S., I believe there'd be some outrage here as well. I mean, at least come up with some common decency. If you're having trouble figuring out what that is, well, listen to International Flavor. Will help you figure that out at some point. So, that is part one of the Easter story, and everything that's been going on is truly, truly distressing. Let's see. I also want to tell you, like we were talking about the dollar nosediving to 3-year lows. U.S. currency under pressure from Trump's tariff policy in a standoff with the Russian Reserve. Now, I was watching the rate of the ruble to the dollar, and I think that is important to figure it out. Rate of the ruble to the dollar over 10 years. Why don't we start with that? Russian ruble to dollar exchange rate chart. So here's what's happening when you are tracking this. It went to some pretty big lows in November of 2024 and December of 2024. Let's switch that, though. I think I'm backwards because we want to go from the dollar to the ruble, right? Yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to go dollar to the, oops, now I've messed it up. Mess things right up. Let's see here. Just on my screen, it's okay. We'll have it a little bit better here and get it fixed up. But the ruble and the dollar are really having some issues there with how they are being shown online. Right now, over 1 year, the ruble to dollar rate is up 11.8% over the 1 year average. Now, me as a traveler to Russia, that I don't really like that. You know, it's it hurt it hurts it when you travel. It's like when I used to go to Europe, and you could get different currencies in different countries. It was much better than having it all be the euro, at least from an international travel perspective, because you could go to different places and it was cheaper to be there. Like Greece was always a really good place to go, and it was extremely cheap because there was a huge, you got big money when you went there. I mean, they were living on nothing, and then when the EC started up and when they started the euro, and it just ruined all of that. And now Greece is just as expensive as everywhere else, and what it's done is it's leveled the areas all over Europe, but Germany's the one paying for it, is what they argue. Now, I don't know. I don't live there, but all I know is that I preferred it when it was the drachma and not the euro in the country of Greece. I went over there to Mycenae, and that was pretty cool. Back, when was that? I don't remember. 2006 maybe. I don't know, but I was in Italy 3 or 4 times, and that's been that was always cool, and I like that. And one of the times I got to go hang out and spend some time there. So back in November 28th of 2024, the ruble was in bad shape, and you were getting 113 rubles for $1. Now, when I was over there last September, you were getting, I remember 87, 88, 90, things along those lines. You'd get 90 rubles to the dollar. And back in It was really bad. November 28th, it was trading at 113 and 100 and also 113 on January the 2nd. Well, right now it is almost the lowest that it's been. It is below 80. It is 80 or below, and that is, well, fantastic for Russia. That means the ruble, but it's bad for America because the dollar to ruble were down 10% over the year. Now, I don't know how much that's going to fluctuate over the years, but that means it's more costly to travel there, is what that means. And so, well, and I don't mean to be, to explain stuff that didn't need to be explained, but the dollar is nosediving, and not just against the ruble, but against a lot of them. And so the U.S. currency is under pressure from Trump's because of his tariff policies and his standoff with the Federal Reserve Chairman. And we all know about that because JR does a good job of reporting that. And so the U.S. dollar tumbled to a 3-year low Monday as market jitters mounted over blah, 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 things I just said. The U.S. dollar index, which tracks the greenback against a basket of major currencies, slid more than 1%. Its lowest since March 22. The dollar hit fresh lows against the euro, the pound, the yen, and the Swiss franc. It was weaker against the ruble, slipping below 80 for the first time since last June. Currency has been under growing pressure since Trump launched what he termed Liberation Day. Market confidence is blah, blah, blah. The president slammed the Fed chair, demanding that he cut rates and warned that Powell could be removed. If he wants him out, he'll be out of there real fast, Trump said. His comments came after Powell threatened to tell the tariffs were highly likely to generate a temporary rise in inflation. Nobody's Trump's friend in the people who want to stick around and stay in the horror story of deep state sorts of activities. So I don't know. I'm not sure what's gonna happen along there, but I think I'm not as positive as JR is. So I'm a little less positive when it comes to that. So, but at any rate, let us proceed with the article. The clash has alarmed investors, despite Powell saying he has no plans to step down early. Trump said preemptive cuts, this is on Truth Social, preemptive cuts in interest rates are being called for by many, with energy costs way down, food prices substantially lower, and other things trending down. There's no reason you shouldn't. U.S. stocks took another hit, with the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P all dropping 3% or more. With a fresh source of macro anxiety, Trump's threat on the federal independence, industry report, Adam, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to hear any of that. An attempt to fire Powell would probably not be taken very well, although I don't know. I think you should be able to pick who you wish. Here's some of the comments. If you're having problems, producing goods locally is important for maintaining a country's skill and infrastructure. Shifting production overseas too quickly can damage domestic industries. Should be done gradually. Somebody said the same thing that I was kind of pointing out. Economies should avoid over-reliance on non-productive sectors like certain financial services. Now, I don't know that I agree with that, because in the U.S., we're pretty reliant on the service industry. U.S. stuff, which really isn't tied to any good. I don't know how. In fact, it seems a little bit odd and awkward to say that service industry has a market value. Okay, now it does, but of what you're importing and exporting. But I think ours is artificially high. That's what I believe, and so I've thought about that for some long time. I think that real goods, should have more value to us than service industry production So your gross national product, which includes some of your service industries that are artificially inflated, I think that is a negative and should be somewhat of a drag on the economy. But at any rate, we've kind of checked that out. Where are we on Ukraine? I saw an interesting show last night. Oh, did you? So Putin and Iran are getting closer. Putin and China are getting closer. Think about this. Putin just signed a new key treaty with Iran. Moscow and Tehran pledged to oppose foreign pressure and enhance their own cooperation. Putin has ratified parliamentary approval of a crucial treaty with Tehran, which he signed with his Iranian counterpart in January. The Comprehensive Strategic Partnership Agreement, which Putin implemented on Monday, formalizes a commitment to building strong relations across multiple areas, including national security, peaceful nuclear energy, and joint resistance against unilateral sanctions. These are very popular, trying to get out of that, and we're driving people the wrong direction with these sanctions. Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov emphasized last week that the treaty was being finalized despite the challenging regional and global landscape, and if attempts to exert pressure on both nations. In recent weeks, Trump threatened military action against Iran unless it agrees to curtail its nuclear activity sufficient to guarantee it cannot use them to develop weaponry. The JCPOA, a 2015 agreement between Iran and leading world powers, aimed at preventing such weaponization. However, it was undetermined when Trump withdrew the U.S. from the pact during his first term, and aligned with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu in condemning the deal as the worst ever. Recently, Washington, and Tehran have engaged in indirect negotiations in Italy and Oman. I know I met a good number of Iranians when I lived in Qatar for that whole year and a half. And I don't know. I think that the ones that I met are good people. Are there bad people in every single country, in every walk of life? Yes. Many of you may remember when I was practicing law in the state of Missouri, and I had a radio program back there with JR called Question Everything. And I don't hold well with lumping people, lumping entire countries, lumping, I don't know what, entire races, lumping religions, lumping people all together as if they all act the same all the time, because they do not. And I don't know, it sounds pretty logical to me, but you hear people say things that you just go, what are you talking about? How can you treat people as humans? I mean, we're one race, the human race. Wasn't that in a Star Trek episode or something? We are one race, and that race is the human race, and that's that. And it needs to be repeated more often, is what I think, that people need to repeat that specific mantra, if you will, because we are doing the same things. We have lumped and created enemies out of places that maybe shouldn't be enemies. The Iranians that I've met, and there were tons of them, they're just as professional, just as nice, just as loving to their families, just as there's Muslims that are great people. I've met tons and tons of Muslims that are fantastic. They have great food. They're very, I don't like this dividing of people by whatever category you want to put them in. Gays, white men over 50. You pick it. LGBTQ, Democrats, Republicans. I discovered recently, I had several friends in when I first became a lawyer in Jefferson City, Missouri in the early 2000s. And I knew quite a few people. Several of them ran for offices. Several of them worked for the state of Missouri at certain times. A couple of them were interns at the Capitol when they were either in law school or college or whatever. And they were all Democrats. And maybe it was the easiest way to get Democratic power. Who knows? I don't know. Or easiest way to get internships was to be a Democrat. I don't know. But recently, I looked a couple of them up, just because I was, wonder whatever happened to this person or that person, just seeing where they were in the state of Missouri and what's going on. And one of them, well, more than one, several of them switched from Democrat to Republican. And I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think it's the right thing to do, but I'm not so sure. So these, because that's kind of what I was looking for, was whether these people were still sticking with the fact that the Democratic Party is for me, or that the Democratic Party isn't for me, whether they were deeply involved or not, that kind of stuff. And so that's what I was checking into. And of the ones that I was looking into, several of them swapped from Republican or Democrat to Republican. And I have spoken about this particular item for years and years and years. People that know me well enough know that I've always said that my voting ability, my when I pick for someone, I never vote for an incumbent that isn't or hasn't been term limited. You know, you get 2 terms. That's it. 2 terms. Any job, 2 terms. I think it is BS that these people get into the government and sit there eternally. It drives me bananas, and it's the exact same. There are plenty of low-life, judges, lawyers that never, they can't make any money on, as a lawyer, and so they want that government job. They want those government benefits because that's good stuff, and they get paid pretty well but they don't have to work as hard. Not saying that some of them aren't decent lawyers, they are, but they couldn't make money. The easy track is to go be a government lawyer somewhere, and that's simple. And I don't mean to offend any of them, but damn, if they, you can't say, oh, I want to go get the bad guy. Now, who are you to decide who the bad guy is? That's, I don't know. I have so many issues when it comes to this power concentration that is just unbelievable power concentration that people take. Where is it? I was reviewing one more time because there's a couple of applications that I'm putting in, and I want to do another tale of my fight with we call it Sam's bar fight, and talk about Sam's bar fight with the Missouri bar and the complete failure of the United States Supreme Court to do anything about it. And what happened to me is BS. What happened to me is just wrong. And it was done because there's people who take power, and there are people who will destroy anyone that they don't. You run up against them, they will. This is what the man said to me. I intend to destroy you. I intend to guarantee that you will never practice law again. I said, for what? And he and it wasn't because of anything, he wanted to claim that I was robbing my clients and doing as I wasn't, but that's the story that's out there. The story that's out there is Sam was a criminal. Sam robbed all his clients. Sam did this, Sam did that. But where's the way to defend yourself against such claims? Those things do not exist, and you're not allowed to defend yourself against such claims. It's very, very difficult. And so I, when I vote, and we were talking about term limits when I got off on this little rant, was these term limits. If you don't control this and you don't do something about it, and you pick and choose, you end up with these deep state sorts of, I don't know what, government run entities. You just, and they never move. So I think one of the most important moves we could make would be term limits across the board. I know I've mentioned it quite a few times. And even in the judiciary, I think it is nonsense that the most powerful pens in the world get to be there forever, and you can't get rid of them. And it's some of them need to be gotten rid of. I think it's a great restructure is going to be one of the only things that would save America, that will longer term. Now, what Trump's trying to do, these are hard things, where he's trying to put tariffs in and trying to bring production back home and all of these things, and stop the inflow of cheap labor and or too cheap labor, that destroys people who are already here, or disenfranchises those people who are already here. And I don't have any problem with anybody coming into the country, but when you look at some of I was speaking about my Iranian people, because I do want to get back to that article, but I kind of got sidetracked. When I was speaking about the Iranians and the people that are there, they are fantastic people. They are very interested in working with the U.S. They're very interested in having business relationships between them. But we like to point out, and this, I blame again our national media structure, because it's just continual. I don't know how they come up with these things, but if you want to paint, like most Americans had never heard of Iraq when we had war in Iraq. What did they show you about Iraq? What was the only thing they showed you? Bombed out places, sand, stuff put together with slabs of stone 200 years ago, tents flapping in a breeze, a Jeep full of people cruising around, all wearing turbans and stuff like that. That is unfair representation, and it always is. Just like I always say about the Russians being portrayed as the bad guy, or as a mafia guy, or as whatever. Italians got it for a while, but the evil ones are supposed to be all Russian, apparently. And so that's how that's what they are. And it's it's really sad that this is what we're down to. So getting back to the article on the JCPOA, that agreement, which Trump said is the worst ever, Americans officials insist that any new agreement that they enter into, and this is what Trump is trying to get done, would require Iran to dismantle its stockpile of enriched uranium or transfer it to another nation, with Russia being a potential candidate. Sources cited by The Guardian claim. Meanwhile, Iran seeks assurances that the U.S. would face substantial consequences if it withdraws from a new deal. So you make a deal, you withdraw. This is the problem with America all the time. We have zero stability. You can badmouth Putin all you'd like, but he's been around since 2000, and so they're pretty steady over there, whether you agree or disagree. You can rely on what they put on paper, rely on what they're putting down, because same guy's been saying it the whole time. And that is what we are missing in the United States, especially these last 10 years. Obama writes one thing, in comes Trump, changes it all. Uh, Trump writes another, in comes Biden, cocks everything all up. And then here we go. We got Trump in again, doing the exact same thing. The rest of the world is up in arms every 4 years going, how in the hell do we deal with these people? There's zero stability. There's nothing there. And nobody pays attention. For us, it's normal. For us, it's regular. For us, we're protecting democracy by getting rid of a president every 4 years. But for us, it's BS too. Who wants to go through this every 4-year change, even every 8, although 8 is better than 4? Maybe you should go to 2 6-year terms, or hell, 2 10-year terms. I give a shit, but something a little more long term. It's pretty funny to me, and I've never read the history of it, but I'd like to get a historian on here. Maybe Professor Paisley could come on and explain this to us, how we ended up. I think that might be a good research project for me. Maybe I'll dig into it even later tonight as I yawn. I might dig into it and try to find out, because we all know from our civics classes, we all know how we got started in what the terms, for a senator, for a state rep, for a president, and for a judiciary. This is what I always remember being taught in school, taught in law school, taught everywhere, that the representatives, you change those all the time, and you gerrymander the districts all the time based on the population that's put out every 10 years. And those representatives are elected every 2 years because that's a dynamic. They're creating new laws. And so if you have that many, well, then the likelihood of getting fresh blood from the people, fresh ideas from the people, they're far more connected with their local people as state reps to the federal government, House of Representatives. I don't see that. They get in there and stick around forever. They aren't going anywhere. It's nonsense. And how many terms how many elections has Nancy Pelosi won? That would be how many electoral history. Her Ballotopedia, her Wikipedia is crazy. The electoral history of Pelosi goes back more than 3 decades. A member of the Democratic Party. She was first elected U.S. House of Representatives in 1987. 1987. Isn't that nonsense? Now in her 18th, this is the number I wanted, in her 18th 2-year term, she has enjoyed, listen how they write this shit up. Pelosi has enjoyed overwhelming voter support throughout her congressional career. She has represented California's 12th congressional district, which is 4/5 of the city and county of San Francisco. Isn't that nonsensical? I tell you what, it's a shame that this is where we are in these days of trouble and gloom. I can't believe it. Let's see. I gotta notice it. My battery is running low on my tablet here, so just having a little bit of a snafu. I hope it doesn't account for the sound too much, but want to make sure that we don't have any issue. And we are now doing just fine. Okay, sorry about that. But there she is. So think about this. If you get rid of these a-holes that sit in there forever, why is it? And this makes no sense. Your dynamic representations. Is this? You got to be kidding me. It's a horror story that you allow these people to come in and stay forever. Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Lindsey freaking Graham. These people all love their laws. So my proposal, if I was looking at the big picture of this, would be to take these people, maybe similar to what they do in Missouri, limit them to 4 terms, limit them to 5. I don't give a shit, no more than 10 years, right? Don't let them get in there and stick around forever. To change this, and it only changes from people coming up with ideas. And I'm just spitballing here, but I've been doing it for years, and nobody talks about this because the people that you elect won't do this. They want to be Nancy Pelosi. They want to get in there and stay there forever, for eternity. That's where they wish to be. And so if you can get rid of people like this is what you should do according to our founding fathers. Because remember, that's the dynamic part. Then you get into the who do we not like on the Senate side? Let's pick longest. I can't remember. I can't believe I can't remember this off the top of my head here. So I want to do it longest term senator in America. Who's been there the freaking longest? Here he is. It says longest serving senator Robert Byrd. No, I believe he's long dead. Yes. 1952, he was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in the 6th District. 1959, he defeated Republican incumbent Chapman Rivercone in the 58. But how long was he there? Byrd was elected to a record 9th consecutive full Senate term in 2006 in the midterms. He was the longest serving senator in history. Became such on June the 12th of 2006, passing up Strom Thurmond. And I like how they call it days of service. This ain't service, friends and neighbors. This is raping of the country is what this is. And it is B freaking S. In my humble little 56 years. Byrd became longest serving member of Congress with 56 years, 320 days, having been combined in the House and the Senate. Passed up Carl Hayden of Arizona. Oh, terror, horror stories. And his official portrait, oh boy. Yeah, well, these people get in there and they never go. Now, to talk about people that have been here for, maybe some of these will still be here. Guy from Hawaii, Daniel Inouye, I think his name was, January 3rd, 1963 to December 17, 2012. 49 years, 11 months. Patrick Leahy, 48 years. Strom Thurmond, 47 years. Edward Kennedy, 46. These are current people. Okay, the longest serving right now, Chuck Grassley from Iowa since 1981. 44 years. I remember Orrin Hatch from Utah. Let's see, who's next? Mitch freaking McConnell. 40 years, a Republican. We're idiots for not taking them out, And then Pelosi, well, she's not even on the freaking list of the top 25. How do you like that? I don't see her on there. Of the current ones, well, McConnell's 40 years. Who's next after that? No, they don't go higher than 25. It's all they're showing. But it's freaking nonsense. So my thought process for them would be 2 years. Or say, call it 3. How about 18? and but combined. So you can't be in the government in an elected position for 40 years. Okay? Why would that be something that people would fight? I don't think they would. I don't think they should. But if you could get rid of these people somehow, and it has to be a blanket across the board kind of thing, like you can't have it picked by your, I mean, I'm even thinking of I mean, I don't like him anyway, but who's the guy currently in office in Missouri? Why can't I remember his name? I don't want to. I never did like him. Thought he was a waste of space. But boy, he gets his picture out quite a bit. He's always interrogating somebody on Capitol Hill, and your Missouri senators. What the hell's his name? Why can't I remember it? There we go, Josh Hawley. It's like, yeah, we know what he's gonna do. He's gonna glad hand for the camera. He's always gonna be in front of the camera somewhere, and he's always gonna be creating some witty response to get somewhere. But we should limit these people to 2 terms as a senator and 5 terms as a state rep. We ought to do something about it. But nobody will. I'm talking about it, and the only way it can be changed is from within, and somebody has to propose it. I heard Trump talk about it a little bit when he was big on this thing. So if you could limit the Senate, I think you should extend, and that's gonna sound terrible, I think you should extend the president. I think the president, this is going to sound horrible and dangerous because Democrats can do the same thing. I think that you should extend it to at least 3 terms of 4 years, but as many as 5 terms of 4 years. We have zero stability in the U.S. among our international folks. We're a dynamic democracy. Oh, yeah? I'm not feeling it. How are we dynamic if you got the same old a-holes in there doing so? Why can't the president stick around forever? Why is that not allowed? I don't know. And if you so you take the president for that way, you take the House of Representatives and you limit them, then something needs to be done with the judiciary. Okay. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. God knows who said that. I can't remember, but I remember the statement, but not the person who said it or who's the one who's tagged with it. But they have the power, especially when they're untouchable. And on the judiciary side, they are completely, I don't know, entrenched. You can't get rid of them. And some of them are just freaking morons. How they get appointed is, you get picked because you're an ass kisser. You get picked because you're young and they know that they can keep you in there forever. You're not picked because you've done anything. You've seen some of the some of the geniuses that have been picked lately, and it's I think that at the Supreme Court level and even at the circuit court level, the appellate court level, like the 13th Circuit, the 8th Circuit, the 7th Circuit, that those you should be able to replace. Let's say, and this is an idea, I'm just spitballing. By the way, that person, the AI, says the saying absolute power corrupts absolutely is a famous quote by Lord Acton, emphasizing that unchecked power can lead to corruption. Boy, he's a genius. He argued that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power, meaning power without limits, leads to complete corruption. And our government has had power without limits forever. And so they hate Trump because here's Trump coming in and trying to limit something. This concept has been used to highlight the dangers of unchecked authority in various fields, including politics, business, and even personal relationships. Oh, well, that's interesting. Personal relationships. The elaboration, and this guy was born in the 19th century. So anyway, that's interesting. So my thought process is on the judges that each term, a president, whoever he is, gets to take out so many judges, right? Take one Supreme Court judge, he gets to remove and assign another one. He gets one. He can do the same thing in several circuits. Maybe not every circuit, maybe only half circuits. I don't know. But there ought to be a way to get rid of these, to get rid of judges who are entrenched so badly that you can never get rid of them. They go in there and they are unfreaking touchable. And they don't do anything. It's not like it's not like they're doing a lot of work. You know that I don't believe. I don't believe it at all, not remotely. So they have huge staffs, huge paychecks. They get to go in there and sit and ponder. Oh, ponderances, what a wonderful thing they are. And then they can tell everybody, say, how you doing, folks? I don't know. I've strayed from where I wanted to go today, but I also wanted to make sure that the technology was going to allow me to do this. And it appears that that is working. I would request, once again, let you know that here we are after just about the first hour, that you can log into International Flavor English and join in live on the International Flavor live stream video. Type in your comments and maybe questions, or you can phone in at 573-746-8020 and ask your questions. I had some video clips I was hoping to play tonight, but we wouldn't be able to do anything but hear them, and maybe we could post it so they are heard on the video platform. That's a possibility, but I think I'm going to wait and not do them this time and just think about it and see if I can come up with a different system overnight, I think is what I'm going to do. So at any rate, we're going to continue with the themes that I was talking about earlier. We were talking about the position shift on the Crimea as well, and this is important as it comes up. Kremlin claims from anonymous sources reports regarding efforts to resolve the conflict should be taken with a grain of salt. Of course, it's according to Dmitry Peskov. He was responding to a question on reports about possible U.S. recognition of Russian sovereignty over Crimea. Now, I heard the same thing. I heard that they were going to recognize the territories already under Russian control. As I was telling you in our program earlier this afternoon, the one I recorded last night, the 4 areas that Russia has basically taken over, all of them are well over 70%. Lugansk is basically Russian. There's no if there are any, there are extremely small number of Ukrainian troops, Ukrainian strongholds in the Lugansk area. Donetsk, I think they're at about 85-90%. Zaporizhia, same. Kherson, same. And now they're spreading into the Sumy regions. So I heard a report yesterday that said that Trump was coming up with a deal that said, well, get ready, we're going to recognize those 5 territories as Russian. And when America does that, it's over. That's basically done. Then you have the German idiots getting ready to send over 30% of their military power. At any rate, in 2014, the people of Crimea voted to join Russia following a Western-backed armed coup in Kiev. The new Ukrainian government, along with its new Western backers, refused to recognize the referendum's legitimacy. Gee, there's a surprise. Anonymously sourced stories published by Bloomberg and the Wall Street Journal claim that recognizing Russian sovereignty over Crimea is among several proposals Washington is presenting to Kiev, a response to which is repeatedly expected by the end of the week. Now, I didn't hear it as just Crimea. I heard it as all of them. Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky rules out relinquishing any territorial claims against Russia and has urged the U.S. and other backers to continue providing military aid because, of course, they can't provide it themselves. A policy the Trump administration has announced it will end. Good. It needs to end. The only way this war is going to end is, and even then, it's going to be tough. But if we back out, it'll be quicker. And if the idiots in Europe want to continue to fund this nonsense, I suppose have at it, but you're killing a generation of people that would prefer not to die. Moscow insists status of Crimea, the city of Sevastopol, the 4 former Ukrainian regions which voted to join Russia in 2022, is non-negotiable. Frankly, I don't blame them. Russian officials have emphasized that recognizing reality on the ground is also essential for achieving sustainable peace. So, what is America working on to try to get in this deal? What are we trying to do? We hear about this rare earth metals and all that, but now, and this is the first time I've heard it spoken out loud or in a publication, is Trump wants Europe's largest nuclear plant. He wants to take the whole, now he's after the nuclear plant, and he's going to take it, but it's in Russia's control, Russian territory. Russia's not going to give that up. And so U.S. intends to assert control over Russian territory surrounding Europe's largest nuclear power plant as part of a mediated agreement between Kiev and Moscow. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. The proposal is part of a reported package of options the U.S. expects Ukraine to respond to by the end of the week. Now, I think they're BS. Last Thursday, senior members of the U.S. President Donald Trump met with Ukrainian and European officials in Paris. One of their ideas aimed at facilitating peace involved designating the land around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant as neutral territory under United States control. That ain't ever going to happen because then United States control, United States military, right? That ain't happening. The newspaper report, this is what they report on Sunday. The former Ukrainian region hosted the facility, voted to join Russia in 2022. We know that. In March, Trump claimed that Ukraine's Zelensky had proposed that the U.S. take ownership of the nuclear power plant. Zelensky later refuted this assertion, stating that he and Trump only discussed potential U.S. investment in Zaporizhzhia, which really made no sense at all back then, and even less now. But Trump is saying, give me the nuclear power plant, largest one in Europe. Let me have it. Additionally, Washington suggested recognizing Russian sovereignty over Crimea, not opposing Russian control over the other former Ukrainian regions, including Zaporizhzhia, and rejecting Ukraine's bid for NATO membership completely. This list of proposals doesn't include any cap on the strength of the Ukrainian army, and it doesn't ban troop deployments by European NATO members in Ukraine. I don't know. If the U.S. and European allies in Ukraine achieve a convergence this week, the package will be presented to Moscow. And if not, Rubio says he's out, says we're out. You know, that's the end of that. And I don't know. Here's the alternatives. Russia has firmly rejected any proposed NATO presence in Ukraine, has asserted that the Istanbul Agreement The initial truce proposed in 2022 that did include limitations on the Ukrainian military will be the foundation as a future peace court. This plan was rejected by Kiev, and Boris, after Boris Johnson talked him into it. Russia's accused EU and UK of attempting to undermine Trump's mediation efforts in order to prolong the conflict. I think that's definitely the case. And to be able to continue to slide Western mercenaries, Western military forces into Ukraine, the western parts of Ukraine. Because if they can do that, that's a victory. If you're allowed to put Western troops in the parts of Ukraine up to Kiev or even further into Sumy or into Kharkov, maybe that you can call that a victory. I don't know. Russia's accused the EU and UK of blah, 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 blah. U.S. President cautioned that his administration would just take a pass if the diplomatic effort becomes too challenging. Then there's commentary underneath says, a guy named Josh, when is America going to go away? A guy named Micah, never cupcake. Then James, just life is just a breath. Eternity is infinite, blah, blah, blah. When enough countries get together and reject them. Right now, if the Muslim nations unite against America, they would turn around and leave. Really. It's going to happen, but right now, those countries have too much money invested in the U.S. to turn away. Trump is trying to fix that by making investments worthless, however. I don't agree with that. Oh, here's one that somebody wrote. MAGA, make America go away. I don't agree with that. I'm just telling you one of the comments on here. Some of these are a lot of fun to read. Trump wants. Putin is a bitch. At least Biden grew progressively stupid with age. Well, no, he was stupid forever. That guy was dumb as a bag of hammers. And I shouldn't say stuff like that. But boy, you'd listen to him doing his nonsensical nonsense in a speech between important people, and he would, I don't know, he would, what would they say in the military? Boy, you could screw up a wet dream. Shouldn't talk like that. Let's see. What else did we have? Putin reacts to a proposal to halt civilian strikes. Russia targets Ukrainian and foreign troops regardless of whether they're located in civilian facilities. Now, I've known this for a long time. Putin was speaking to Russia One TV on Monday, today, when he was asked about the recent Easter ceasefire and a Ukrainian proposal that the sides declare a bilateral halt to strikes on civilian targets. And he said, this needs to be sorted out. This is all a subject for thorough study, Putin said, adding that Moscow is not ruling out such a decision. Kiev has repeatedly used civilian infrastructure for military needs, Putin stressed, addressing recent Russian long-range attacks. Everybody knows the strike that our armed forces delivered at a university congress center in Sumy. Is that a civilian site? Sure, but it was being used to award troops who committed crimes in the Kursk region. We consider those people criminals who must face accountability for what they did during the incursion into the Russian border region, he explained. This was precisely done to punish them. Moscow carried out another attack on an agricultural facility in Ukraine's Odessa, where Kiev and its foreign backers were running a weapons testing operation, said Putin. The Kiev authorities, together with their foreign curators and assistants, tried to organize the production and testing of a new missile system, he said. It's a civilian facility, but it was used for military purposes. Putin confirmed that as of Monday, the 30-hour truce between Russia and Ukraine is over. He cited Defense Ministry reports that while there had been a reduction of hostilities during that period, Ukrainian forces violated the armistice over 1,000 times. Kiev attempted to seize the initiative and proposed extending the ceasefire further. Well, they aren't following him anyway, and so there you have it. Zelensky floated the idea of a unilateral halt on long-range strikes on non-military targets in a social media post on Sunday. Yeah, there was a marked decline in the intensity of Ukrainian attacks on Sunday following the unilateral Easter ceasefire. But Kiev's force continued their operations, logging 4,900 violations during the period. Wow. Monday morning, the Russian military issued a report detailing its observations. Overall, the intensity in fire and offensive actions by the opponent significantly decreased along the entire front line during the daylight hours. Wow. Oh, got a bit of a cold here. Sorry about that. Let's see. What else? Oh, this was kind of funny. These are a Russian news station talking about California mayor proposes tackling homelessness with fentanyl, according to media. And Israel cancels visas for pro-Palestinian French MPs. U.S. Senator says a new 9/11 investigation could happen. Now that is an interesting one. I read this earlier today, and I'm not sure if it's something, but there are a lot of people saying a lot of stuff about 9/11 right now. I tell you what, if it turns out, see, did you notice how quickly the Kennedy investigations have all dried up, disappeared? There's nothing out there, nobody talking about it. Nothing to see here. They released it to a few people. Nobody paid attention to it. I mean, they did, but it is another big nothing burger, just gone away. If it comes out that 9/11 was also a hit job of some sort, we have country problems, serious country problems. Who could pull this off? Well, we know who could pull it off, and we know who they blamed for pulling it off. But there's been a lot of stories. I remember when I lived in Qatar, and my brother had this, he was living there too, and there was he had this club. He liked to have a club for interesting topics club. You know, I was a member of Toastmasters for years, and you'd go to the Toastmaster club and learn to fill, you know, to give a speech, to prepare and talk to groups of people, which some people find very frightening. And but I enjoyed it. I liked it. And you would have a different topic for that. You'd be the Toastmaster is the guy who runs the organization at the beginning of whatever show. And so for that group, you'd be the guy leading the talks that evening. And you would assign people to talks every week. It was like having a small presentation with some pretty good topics. Well, my brother had a club similar to that was just a group of people that would get together and talk about conspiracy theories and talks. And he knew some stuff. If I could get my brother on the show, I might do that. I might call him up one night. It might be easier now that I'm doing it in the evenings. Who knows? To get him to participate. I have a couple of brothers that are high caliber individuals with a lot of information to provide to us, and very interesting points of view. And so maybe I'll try to get him to join along one night, because he knows some stuff, and he had some interesting theories on the 9/11. Well, now other international other countries are talking about it. And here's the bombshell dropped by Ron Johnson. Tell us that 9/11 hearings are being planned. Building 7 was potentially a controlled demolition. Structural engineers say that thing didn't come down in any other way than controlled demolition. Molten steel, destruction of evidence, and oh wait, I'm sorry, has reset. Destruction of evidence. We want answers. What really happened on 9/11? It's being covered up by our government. Why am I not surprised by that? I mean, seriously, why am I not so? Now, my brother, who was a quality engineer for airport building, the one in Doha, and then he was in the to Qatar Rail. I think he worked at Qatar Rail doing something similar, and quality stuff. And so engineering's a big part of it, and root cause analysis and all of that. And one night we're sitting there going over the 9/11 stories, and he had all of the conspiracy theories. And I'm telling you, you got to poke holes in some of those things. Know that what we saw on TV is how this happened. It's not possible that somebody did it any other way. We know what happened. We've heard what happened. This is how it went. And I don't know. It was extremely interesting, I'll tell you that, and to listen to him and a few other people talk about all of the theories that go around it. I wonder if I could get him to wake those up or find it. My sister told me about a conspiracy theory. She has several of them too, and she knows quite a bit of those conspiracy theories. I've always been, I don't want to say against them, but I'm pretty careful about just jumping on the bandwagon of conspiracy theories, but now I've always believed that it's foolish to think that there aren't other beings living on other planets if we know that there are, billions of planets. If there are billions of planets, I guarantee you there are people living out there, or beings, intelligent beings living somewhere on some of them. And but that's not a conspiracy theory. I always watch the X-Files. Now you go back and watch the X-Files. I always watch the X-Files. If you don't have anything, if you're sometimes working late at night or something, going through something, I'll have X-Files on in the background. Not that I'm watching, but to fill the space, to fill the time with sound, with whatever, with something else. And you talk about some of the conspiracy theories that old Mulder and Scully were investigating. Some of them, there's one that I saw, I don't know, 6 months ago, 5-6 months ago, that had specifically to do with the Kennedy assassination. And that was interesting, and they showed that the guy who was their nemesis was involved even way back then, that he was involved in the assassination of Kennedy, and was, people think about that stuff. So I don't know. It's maybe it's something that has obsessed us over the years, as the 9/11 things have done. I don't know about that. Sorry about that. Taking a sip of tea while we are finishing up the program. Well, I don't know about all these conspiracy theories. I just don't. But I do know that bringing an investigation into 9/11, Senator Johnson, he chairs the Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Permanent Subcommittee on investigations. He criticized the removal and destruction of physical evidence from the site, calling it totally contrary to any other firefighting investigation procedure. Where's all the documentation from the NIST investigation? There are a host of questions that I want and I will be asking, quite honestly, now that my eyes have been opened. So this is what my brother was pumping out, all things like that, way back when. When asked whether the public might see hearings on the issue, he said, "I think so." He further said that President Trump, being a New Yorker himself, might have an interest in reopening this case. What actually happened? What do we know? What is being covered up? My guess is there's an awful lot being covered up in terms of what the American government does know about it. Trump ally Mel Gibson calls for truth about 9/11. There's an article called "The Truth Behind the 9/11 Hijackers." I don't know. Johnson said he recently spoke with former Congressman Curt Weldon, plans to work with him to expose what he's willing to expose. Well, expose it all. And why? What are we, too stupid to get anything? These people and their secrets. Earlier this month, Weldon urged Trump to appoint people of impeccable integrity. Yeah, good luck with that. Where the hell are you going to find them in the government? To lead a commission to study the facts. He should have my brother do it. In an interview with journalist Tucker Carlson, Weldon dismissed the label of conspiracy theorist, suggesting the CIA and the government have long engaged in disinformation. Now, this conspiracy theory thing, do you remember the Mel Gibson show where he was, what was the name of that show where he was talking about, he was a cab driver or something, and Mel Gibson conspiracy. What was the name of that show? It might be worth a watch again. Conspiracy theory movie with the chick from Pretty Woman. The chick from Pretty Woman was in there. Oh, guess what it's called? Conspiracy Theory. 1997 Conspiracy Theory. I liked that movie. I saw it way back when, but I enjoyed that movie. Taxi driver with a penchant for conspiracy theory becomes the target after one of these theories turns out to be true. Unfortunately, to save himself, he has to figure out which theory it is. I don't know. Mel Gibson did a pretty good job of being a loony in that show, and some crackpot. And then the hell's her name? Julia Roberts. There you go. Had to find it. Was in that too. You get a chance, you go back and watch that. But now Mel Gibson is a strong ally for Trump. And they're publishing articles in Russia about the truth behind. They have a video here. Who funded the 9/11 hijackers? How did they go through the U.S. without being detected by the FBI? Were any of them actually recruited by the CIA? And there's a show called Whistleblowers. John Curacao gets to the bottom of these questions and more with investigative journalist Kit Klarenberg, who's researched with Grey Zone UK, has uncovered some uncomfortable truths and connections between 9/11 hijackers, an FBI informant, and the CIA. This article came out in 9 March, and I might have to save this one to play or download, perhaps. I shall download it, I think, is what I will do, and save it for later. There you go. Well, we will have to put that on the show tomorrow. It's too long to play today, but that might be one worth watching if 9/11 is going to be an issue again. We should all have a look at what the hijackers were. Who were the hijackers? And, well, connections between them is what that means. And I'm trying to save it here for, let's see. We are going to save it and see if we can't play that later. That would be fun. Yeah, because it's 30 minutes long. It's too long for this show today. Well, I want to finish up by saying I think this went reasonably well. Now, again, this what it's going to happen is I'm stopping the live show at 5 p.m. And this worked tonight, and I like the time frame that it is for 9 p.m. I'm going to dual, we're doing this live right now on Damn Radio at right now. And it's also live on my YouTube channel at the exact same time. And so I want to continue that, and so to have the ability for people to call in the evenings, that is a good thing. And the show will be going from 9 until 10:30 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. And for the next 2 weeks, we're going to play it at the regular time, but make sure that everybody knows to swap and that it is not a live show. So at the beginning of every show and at the end of every show, on the 4 o'clock hour, I will say that this is a pre-recorded show, and certainly at the end I will. So we have pretty good set of shows on Damn Radio, and great hosts, great topics, decent amount of people joining in to provide their opinions and discussions of what is happening in the world. I think that it would be a well spent time for you to check out our schedule on damradio.com/schedule. If you feel like reviewing prior podcasts from the channel, you can get those and listen to them on damradio.com/podcasts. And many of us have our own websites where we put them as well. Mine will be on YouTube. Mine are on a place called Podbean. You can type in internationalflavor.com and go to my page, my podcast page, where these videos are stored. And I would like it if you did. And if you have ideas for me, I would love to hear them. And I would love to hear your commentary. You can reach me on by email at samuelt@internationalflavor.com. And that is my email. And all of my shows get published, right away on the channel. And you can go back and listen to them as they are. And the one I put up for yesterday is on the show even now. And this one will show up there rather quickly after that. Let's see if there's anything we can do some final thoughts on today. If there's anything except the California nosedive, Pope Francis passed away today, and that's a sad loss for the world. We have plenty of opinion to get to. Well, here's one. Remember me talking about, well, there's two of them that are pretty funny. Germany wanting the UK to hold its hand while it starts World War III with that. I tell you what, Mertz, he's not going to go good. But there's another good article. I don't think I'll share it till tomorrow. I don't have time to get it in for tomorrow, but or for today, I mean. But I will definitely get it in for tomorrow. It's an opinion piece that I read earlier. It's called What It Means to Be White in America. Identity, not supremacism. To affirm one people is to affirm all people. It's a decent article, and it's coming from the other side of the world. So I appreciate you all. I ask that you join us again tomorrow and every day on damradio.com. And I very much look forward to hearing from you all most of the time by radio or certainly on the video stream. And so thank you so very much for being here today, and have a good evening.